We've got two outliers here. You've got the fact that this is a region that could potentially, if they were so empowered or felt the need to do so, be a major interlocutor, if you will, with Beijing because of the majority of energy supplies that go to Asian markets. And frankly, I've always said this. When at some point the American public realizes we're spending trillions of dollars to put the Fifth Fleet out here, which is essentially guaranteeing the security of oil
it's going to
Asia.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's our Navy. It's our Blue Water Navy that is essentially protecting barrels going to Asia. So I do think there is scope certainly for this region, these governments, to play a very important role in the negotiation process. I mean, frankly, these are governments that have been working with Russia since 2016 on energy. They have back channels that they can call. The question is, what side are these governments on in this dispute as well? And I do think this is going to be very challenging for the administration. We are going into this OPEC meeting this week, and there are two issues. There are concerns about the U.S. commitment to the region, but there's also the issue of how many more barrels simply are there out there now to surge onto the market. We had a big contraction in investment in 2020. We're paying the price now for that lack of investment. And the question is, how many barrels do we think can be quickly surged? Maybe it's 2 million, maybe it's 2.5 million, but here's the problem. Once you use those barrels, there's not a lot of spare capacity out there. And I think that is the real concern of someone like Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman. He remembers 2008 when OPEC was putting more barrels on the market and prices rose as spare capacity shrunk. So I think there are two concerns which make it challenging for this administration to get the near-term energy price relief. And then we go to gas. And you were just in Doha and you had those extraordinary interviews and you were told essentially, near term, we're largely maxed out. We can talk about 3 to 5 years with new projects, but if you need gas now, if you need to break Europe's dependence on Russian gas, there are not a lot of cargoes out there immediately to provide relief. That's why the Germans are being so intransigent on this issue.
So what's the solution here then, Helima? You have countries in the Middle East that might be a little less willing to help out here on the oil side unless they get security guarantees in exchange. And then when you have a look at what's happening in the gas markets as well, the US saying, okay, we can come out and help, but not just yet. And operationally, logistically, that's incredibly challenging. The Qataris at the same time, maybe even the Australians as well, also looking to try and get gas into Europe. But it's just impossible at this point, right?
I mean, the near term, and I think this is a question Hadley has been raising, what is the price consumers in the West are willing to pay for the principle that you cannot invade a sovereign nation? Rip up the security architecture in Europe. I mean, in the near term, I think consumers simply have to prepare for higher prices, and there has to be that conversation with citizens. And frankly, as we think about an energy transition as well, an energy transition does not mean lower prices. And I think we have to have an honest conversation about what the cost environment is going to look like in a transition. Certainly, though, over the medium term, you can be thinking about what infrastructure do you need to build out and permit to get more cargoes on the water, over the medium term. And you have to come down with a view of what is the role of gas in this transition. We didn't know what Western governments thought about gas. They were very focused on renewables. Gas was still seen as a fossil fuel, one that you might have to sort of hold your nose and stomach. But now I think there is a realization that as we think about energy security and we think about balancing security and the needs of the transition, gas, it looks like it's going to play a central role. And if you believe that, then you need to invest. Then you need to build the infrastructure.